Good morning and happy Mother's Day to all of you out there on Sunday, May the 10th. It's 9 a.m., which means Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. I'm live on Facebook, and I encourage you to type in where you're joining me from. First one that types in gets a special call out from me. And I have been making an awful lot of videos each day. And so I will be making another one this morning, probably in about an hour. So you can look for that in my Hope for Retail project, but takes a little difference. There's Joanne. So Joanne, I appreciate you being the first one in this morning and for reminding me of the cat story today. So thanks for that. Several of you I know are already on the line, but do me a favor, give me some thumbs up, give me some love, because the Facebook algorithm only rewards those who ask. So I am asking, but I'm not pleading. I'm not going to say I'll pay you for them, but just do me a favor. All right. So, yes. So I had last Sunday, I started to mention the cat story, and I haven't told this story for a while. It is a fictional story, I should say, to begin with. And it's one that I have heard in sales training for years and years and talk about mindset and everything. And I thought I would share that with you today. So a car dealer comes back from his lunch, and he sees that half of the employees aren't there, and guys are coming back like 20 minutes late, and customers are waiting, and there's nobody to answer the phones. And so he calls everybody together. He goes, from now on, everybody has to be back by 1 p.m. Otherwise, they're going to be fired. It's like, what? Yeah, because we have to make sure our customers are satisfied, et cetera. It's like, oh, okay. So they have the meeting, and the next day, the car dealer is at lunch, and he looks down at his watch. It's 1:45. He's like, oh my gosh, I've got to get it back to the office quickly. He gets in his car. He's right about to the dealership. He's about a block away. Cop pulls him over, and he goes, this is really ridiculous. You should be out there trying to get all the speeders and murderers and other people off the street. I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the cop gave him the ticket. Car dealer walks into his office, into the dealership. His number one salesman looks at his watch. It's 1:10. He goes, yep, got to be back by 1 o'clock. That really makes the car dealer upset. He goes in, slams the door, calls in his secretary. He goes, she comes in and says, did you get all those letters I told you to get out by 1 o'clock? She goes, no, I was working on things. Well, you better get them out of here in the next half hour or you're gone. And she's like, this is really ridiculous. I was out here doing my job. Now he comes back in a bad mood. So she goes out to the receptionist. She goes, I need you to type all these letters up in the next 15 minutes. She goes, well, I'm doing 3 other jobs. She goes, you better do it or you're going to be fired. So the receptionist goes, this is really ridiculous. She comes over, and now I've got to do her job and mine. But she gets the letters out. She goes home. She takes the bus. She goes home. She opens her front door, and she sees her youngest son is there watching TV, and he's got a big rip up the back of his chinos. And she goes, son, how many times have I told you to change your clothes before going out and playing? Now you're going to go to bed without any supper. Little kid goes, this is really ridiculous. I'm home watching TV on my own. My mom comes back and is upset. About that time, his cat comes walking by, and he goes out to reach to kick the cat, and he says, get out of here. I bet you've been up to no good. Wouldn't it have been easier if that car dealer had just taken a swing towards the cat? We're in a kick the cat world. We are in people who are under anxiety and fear, and it just takes it out on everybody else. And ultimately, we have to realize that at some point, we've got to stop that, because what it does is it just snowballs. And you know how that goes too, right? Somebody asks for a time off, and then you say, yes, but then something comes up that makes you upset with them. You go, no, you got to stay on the schedule. And then you kind of play in this little game of one-upsmanship until finally someday somebody actually says, this all stemmed from 3 months ago. So I just want you to think about that in the terms of what are we adding or taking away from people's anxiety and fear in these days, because we are all under stress that none of us ever thought we would be under, and we are trying to make the best of it. And I can tell you that today I am fairly sure I'm going to have a rant today, and my goal is always to help, not hurt. But also just understand that we are living in extraordinary times, and we're trying to figure it all out together. I say we're always just trying to sit around the campfire, hoping somebody will listen to our stories. So a Palm Sunday shirt. That's nice, Cheryl. That's good. I hadn't thought of it that way, but all right, good. Good. So I have no one flaming me about the cat story and telling me how horrible a cat story is. It's a fable. It's not something that actually happened. All right. And one other thing for those of you who are watching, I'm going to announce a special webinar for my newsletter people on Friday. So if you're on my newsletter, you'll see the invitation tonight, and that's only by invitation. If you can't make it, you'll get a link. You'll be able to watch it later, but watch for that in my newsletter tonight. Want to make sure I get that out. So let's go through and find out what you had to ask me about today. You got lots of you coming in. And again, you can always keep coming in because I see all your comments, and I do try to remember who all is here and what all you're there. And if you're first timers, let me know. That would be great. All right. So Carmen asks, curious, how do you choose the businesses, locations you comment about? Sorry if you addressed this before. I'm new to your site. Well, there you go, Carmen. So I think you're talking about my Hope for Retail project. And quite simply, exceptional experiences stay with you. There's always a story about discovering the item as well as the item or where you're giving it. And, even today, I'm going to be making I'm going to be making an exception in my Hope for Retail story. So I hope you watch for that in the next couple hours. But I was thinking about, great retail touches our heart. And I have an awful lot of you who are sewers that follow me. And when I spoke at Husqvarna Viking, my goodness, 20 years ago in Las Vegas, when they had a marching band that came up, I think there was like thousands of people there. And I told this story about my mom, and I had seen in the catalog in January, I think it was the May company back then, so it's probably 50 years ago. And there was a guy in a blue ultra suede vest, and I thought it was really nice. And I had something to my mom like, oh, do you think I get that? And she's, whatever the price was, maybe it was $100 then. She's a single mom. She's like, yeah, you're not going to get that. It's like, okay, fine. And so on my morning of my birthday, I had a box and I opened it up, and there was a blue suede, ultra suede vest that she had made for me. Now, I don't know how she did it. She's a full-time science teacher at the local middle school. I never stood for a fitting. I don't know when she could have done it because I had a job, but I mean, I was around the house a lot. And that idea that we go through and touch somebody's heart with a gift, we feel something. And that's the same about those brands that I have picked. So a great brand experience lifts us up like no discount coupon can. And why do I choose these big brands? Because quite simply, most of them are going to be closing 20, 30% of their stores. And there's a lot of employees who are going to be furloughed. And most people know those stories, and they become faceless retailers or somehow look at them as the enemy. And I don't think there's any retailer that's an enemy of another retailer. You should be thrilled of anyone who's willing to go into a store and buy anything right now, and be glad that people are finding ways to find hope in that. So I hope that helps. Mark, thanks for your post, Bob. Even as a restaurateur, I find a lot of great info that helps me run my restaurant. Mark, you totally rock. Thanks for letting me know that, dude. And again, you can all join in here on your comments. I read every one of them, sometimes when they're live and oftentimes afterwards. Caro, you mentioned this point last week, but as things change daily, my question is, new tourism seems likely to reopen July 1st here in Greece. What should I do with my stock orders? Should I just keep selling the past items for this year? So, Caro, quite simply, unless it has a bunny on it, you're going to be fine. Only you know how old your merchandise is. And if you're in a tourist destination, I would think even more so. The key to make sure old merchandise doesn't look old is make sure that you are taking everything out and rearranging the entire store so it doesn't feel the same to you, and you're going to look at your merch with better eyes and be able to sell it. And that goes for all of you as well. Tessa, I'm moving from just appointments to a few appointments plus shortened store hours and planning on slowly reopening. Sounds like most of you. Any advice on best practice or updating hours? It will be changing several times over the next few weeks. I have to keep customers informed. So the number one way I think is just awful obvious. Social media, post on your web page and go to Google My Business. Make sure that you have temporary hours notice there, that people are there. Also turn on messaging from my Google My Business so that people can directly message you when they find you on a search. And then also make sure that you change your voicemail to forward to your home phone so that if there's any questions, or your cell phone, people were able to find you and talk to you. That's what matters, Amy, several of our vendors are now offering to drop ship orders direct to our customers. Awesome. They keep a percentage of sale, of course, and they keep the email mailing info of the customer. Is this worth considering? I'm wondering if I'm ultimately just handing over my intellectual property. So, Amy, this is not like you're going in business with Amazon, which their third-party marketplace. They go through and they find what's selling, and then they pretty much knock it off. I think you can take solace in the fact that if you're going to help your vendors out and they do that drop ship and they help you out, then you're a more valuable customer to them, and probably they're going to do more for you in the long term. So I don't see any downsides to that as all. And I'm assuming that these are always on things that you don't already carry in store, or they're kind of oddball. We wouldn't sell them at too high a turn to be able to keep them in store. So I hope that helps. Selwyn, how do we best conduct our live events as we're now open in our shop? So Selwyn, quite simply, live events are going to need social distancing, and I have a whole course that you can download and join on my site. You'll see it there as Reopening Retail. I'll talk about that, and I'll put the link in a little bit later. That's what the webinar is going to be on Friday morning. But you have to maintain those restrictions of 6 feet apart. So if you're a sewing retailer, that means your sewing room is not going to be able to have 30. You're probably going to be able to have about 20 or 15, and you're going to have to make it work. And I would encourage you not to be flouting the safe distancing rules, et cetera, because I think the blowback will be pretty bad. So there you go. Shout out to Gwen, who took the money from, I just had to say, Gwen, thanks for joining Sales RX this week. And she told me that she took the money that she is going to go to a trade association and already had budgeted, ended up buying an annual contract to Sales for X. And I appreciate that, because you decided to come back to win and not try to just come back and survive. And that's it. You know, the reality is, I've said this probably the last 5 weeks, asked and answered retail is dead. And what that is, hi, can I help you find something? Yes, I'm looking for a widget. Oh, what widget do you like? Well, I'm looking for a yellow widget. Oh, they're right over here. Here's the yellow widgets. Anything else? No. Great. That's dead, because people who are browsing are online. People who walk in need to be cared for, and there has to be an exceptional experience. And if you're still going to do, I can help you find something, or do whatever you've always done because, well, we just kind of figure it out and we're just fun that way, it's going to be impacted when you're wearing a mask or social distancing. So there you go. Robert, our buying group normally does 2 trade shows a year. Now they don't think the stores will be ready to fly or stay in a hotel, and want to consider a virtual trade show. Makes total sense. Any thoughts? That's exactly what I'm running into, Robert, that people are hiring me to do virtual speeches more and more. And I think that's fine for right now. It's a temporary move. But you got to keep people involved, and you've got to keep the brand involved. So make sure that if your trade show is going to be doing that, you don't hire people that aren't professional speakers. I just got my certified speaking professional. So many of you chimed in. I think there was 500 of you this week that chimed in out of 2% of the speakers. That's means that it's been vetted from 10 years of speeches that have had anonymous surveys and random calls to all those people, and also more people actually reviewing my speeches. So vet whoever you're going to have, because just because they can be on Zoom doesn't mean they should be on Zoom. So I hope that helps, and I applaud it. I think it's great, and it's exactly where you need to go. Susan, my husband tells me I'm watching my business change forever. He's probably right. How do we read the signs? Seems like people had an impulse buying phase, but I wonder if we'll face a wall soon. What do you think? Well, you're going to be judged on the optics of your store more than your nice windows and displays, and that's not going to change soon. So yes, things are going to change. I mean, the reality is 20% of stores are going to probably be gone, and it's going to be a culling of the herd. And I don't think that's the worst thing, because there's a lot of marginal, terrible retailers out there, from the biggest big to the smallest small. And ultimately, there's too many places to buy too much of the same thing. And there's only one way to do that, is to get the demand to match the supply. And it's going to be painful, and it's not going to be great. But revenge buying is showing up in some places. But also I'm hearing that some retailers are running out of the entry-level products, which tells me that you probably have little sales training, because if employees can only sell the entry level, then they're not able to sell the mid or the high. And ultimately that's going to cost you, because if I use your product for a while and it's just entry level, it's going to be a while till I say, oh, I'll go buy that again, only the better one. So I think that's certainly, things are changing, and I do podcasts and I do an awful lot of interviews where I talk about the changes, but hopefully that gives you an idea over my Facebook page. So there you go. Cynthia, our mall has already been struggling in this pandemic. Has the mall completely shut down? Of course, we have 5 anchors: Nordstrom, Target, JCPenney, Macy's, and Sears. Penny just filed bankruptcy, and Nordstrom is closing in June. We have a prime location, but we're already quite impacted by declining traffic. To reduce my risk, I need to quick sell probably half the products in my store. Already, it's a problem. We're closed. Online sales are what's keeping us alive now, but those sales are declining with the states opening up and Amazon catching up. Yes, this is all true. We're anxiously looking forward to hope with curbside. Any suggestions on getting rid of this potentially dead merchandise quickly? I can't fix this one, and I'm retirement age anyway. I already started back to school for career 3 and live out of state half time. I have great employees, so I can. Lots to unpack there, Cynthia. I would say that we are in the cusp of the mother of all clearance sales. I don't care what you sell. That's going to be apparel. That's going to be everything. Everybody is going to be trying to dump stuff. So panic selling gets you nowhere. And, you know, if you paid, I don't know, $10 for a widget and you're going to try to expect you're going to get 10, it really might be 2. So why do you, to get rid of it quickly, you're going to have to be lower than everybody else. And that's just a zero-sum game. So I am going to take you to task for this idea that you can be out of a store for half the year. It doesn't make sense to me. This is a time for all hands on deck. Those of you who don't seem to realize the enormity of what's happened, trust has been shattered across all consumers, which is to public health, to government, to food supply, to you name it, and even our own family member could bring something home and kill us. I acknowledge that we are in a different place than we have been, and that it's going to be a lot for us to all collectively make retail work again. So this idea that we have great employees, well, if you still have half the product that couldn't sell, what's going to change? Because just marking it down isn't going to be it. As I've said to all of you before, you're going to have to sell your way out of this. And if you like what I have to say, please give me a thumbs up, give me some love, because at the end of the day, Facebook only rewards people who love and applaud and all of that other stuff. So there you go. Holly says, I've done Zoom, sip, and shop events, and by appointment only do you suggest shorten hours in a state wherein we aren't to be open yet. I'm not quite sure I'm following you, but yes, everyone is going to be shortening hours. And on the post I'm talking about today, you know, one of the things you have to realize is you're going to have to clean more than you ever did before. You're probably going to have some way that actually cleans your store over and over again. And if you don't doubt me, then read my post tonight and you'll see why. So there you go. Eli, Bob, when we work with a customer, they do convert by and large. The price for our products is the same as online, but when it comes to messaging about why to convert with us for marketing purposes, what words are effective? I know how to manage or book a consultant and learn from us, but I struggle with messaging around why to transact with us besides free shipping or support independent businesses. Yeah, no one is. Free shipping is table stakes, and you're an independent business, table stakes. So at the end of the day, Eli, I think if you're the same Eli I'm thinking of, you're a toy store, and the only thing that you guys have is what makes you unique. And I know you do extensive use of videos, but we're in a new world. So just saying we're the local guy isn't going to do it. I think ultimately every day you have to think of another way to do it. You have to think of another way to do it. I don't have any quick suggestions for it, Eli. I mean, ultimately, customers are going to be skittish. They're going to be looking at businesses that don't wear masks. They're going to be looking at people who don't social distances, and they're going to be. You're in that moment. You are going to be noticed. So right now, it's all about managing the optics. So I hope that helps. And again, please give me some thumbs up. Give me some love. I'd love to see what you think. Selwyn, thanks for all your positive suggestions, answers to questions, time, and attention. Thank you. Of course. 2 more, and then I'm done. Debbie, my garden center is in NorCal and has been over 100 degrees, near 100 degrees in the last 2 days. It's not a county requirement that we wear face coverings. It would seriously endanger staff. Several of my customers are doctors and they don't wear face coverings either. It's the know-it-all nurses buying a non-essential 4-inch annual who think they have the right to lecture me on staff not wearing face coverings. How to deal with them in a nice way. I don't even know where to go. I have a feeling I'll probably end up in a rant. So, Debbie, if you're first time to this, my goal is to help, not hurt. But I have to be honest. You have to manage the optics. Retail is having a hard enough time. Everybody needs to take this seriously. And I don't know how, if you're in Northern California, which is a blue state, that ultimately you don't see that it's all about being proactive and showing what people can and do in a retail setting. I'm sure if I went to Lowe's or I went to the garden center in different places, I would see masks. They don't have a mask. They could certainly be wearing a bandana. I mean, if I was out on a dusty field, and I've been to an awful lot of garden centers in my day, I don't know why you couldn't have a bandana. It's about showing visibly that you care about the community. This is what we're talking about. And honestly, I am totally surprised at anybody that would call out nurses who are somehow being bad to you because they're calling you out. I can't get my head around it. How do you know that one of those nurses isn't going to bring that 4-inch pot of a non-essential plant to a patient's bedside? My God. It's about the customers and what they need to see from you. Expect someone who's in your store is probably going to go tell other people. I was talking to a woman the other night, and she was telling me how she went to get her hair cut, and like half of the salon people didn't have masks. It was okay, or the people sat down. She goes, I'm not going to be back. In that moment, you are judged. We are in a very different situation. This is not a matter of normal. This is a matter of saying things have fundamentally changed in retail. And you better take it seriously that everybody wears a mask or a face covering for a while. It's not a matter of keeping you well. It's a matter of people visibly seeing you are trying to limit the spread, and you are saying, I care about the community. Whether you are right or left state makes no difference here. The same thing with social distancing. It has to be there. That's why all the majors are marking off tables so that people know that you can't sit here. People are making sure that they're putting in plexiglass in music retailers so that the difference between the student and the instructor, they're finding a way to work with a new normal. But it is never the customer's fault. And if they're telling you that, my goodness, that should have been a wake-up call for you. Like, wow, maybe I'm misjudging the situation. So maybe, Debbie, you'll never be back, but I just can't imagine. I am gobsmacked at even reading this, much less that you would tell me a non-essential 4-inch. I mean, it's just dripping with cynicism towards a customer. That's where I'm gobsmacked, as they say. So those of you who love the rants, you got one, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Every one of you who votes and says, I'm going to follow what I need to do, is making people feel more comfortable. When I go into a mall, I'm probably going to get an infrared scan when I walk in. If you want to say, I don't need that, you can't make me do that. What are you saying? What are you saying in this time and energy? When 20 million people are out of work, you need every single customer who comes in to rave about you, not to go through and say, you won't believe what I heard today. I hope. If you're still with me, Debbie, again, my goal is to help, not hurt, but I just can't get my head around it. So there you go. Last one, Kim. I work, Joey, Debbie, you're not listening. That's pretty funny. Thanks for lighting me up a little bit. I was a little on fire there. Kim, I work in a retail environment that actually helps guests. We get close, show them how to wear product, and are very used to high fives, handshakes, and hugs with guests. Obviously, things will have to adjust. Maybe see Debbie above. Where are we going with this? Need guidance on how to teach teammates to do this and with a mask on, and what to say to guests when things feel different. So, Kim, I won't take you to task like this other person, but the world has changed. This isn't like a nice to have or want to have. This is the world we're in right now. This is the way we are going through. This is the way we are trying to find our way through it. And it's not going to be for a few days or a few weeks. Right now, I've created a whole course on reopening retail and building trust. It's got 16 lessons, no credit card, no commitment. You can go through and get on that. I'll put the link on that. And then also I have a webinar where I'll take your questions specifically about that, but only on Friday and only people on my newsletter. I'm not going to put it here. You're not going to be able to rewatch it here. Ultimately, you have to realize that you can't do that anymore. Handshakes are gone. It's a very 1950s way to shake hands, and high fives. And they're even saying that fist, whatever, elbow touching isn't that important either. The optics of it is we are staying safe, and it's much harder to do that with a mask. I get that. But when people say, oh, I'm going to have a funny mask, I'm going to have funny things on it. Yeah, well, if they're too small, people are going to lean in to read it, which is the worst thing. And then realize a mask is going to muffle what you say. So the things to spend time on are, how do we maintain being friendly in a world where half our face is going to be covered and we're not going to be able to navigate it. I have one example, and I'm not going to give it to you here, but there's an example in the course of how to teach your employees social distancing, because as humans, we are horrible at judging distance. But you're going to have to do all those things if you want to be in business and win. So that's the thing I am telling to you, that ultimately you have to go through and say, I'm in this to win it, not I'm in this to get through it, because that mindset is one of hope and finding a way and saying, okay, so we can't do this. What we can do instead? Maybe you're going to go through and you're going to each have little whiteboards. You know, I send bombs to my best customers, and I write out a little message for them. Maybe you'll carry one of these around, and you'll add little high fives or whatever. Maybe that's it. Maybe you'll have a bell that each one of you can ring or something like that. There's a million ways you can go through and get people to find, oh, that was fun. That was different.
Wow, you did it.
I'm still loving this from 1980. But in the end, the world has changed. So I encourage you to check out Reopening Retail and Rebuilding Trust, because that's it. And just remember, so many, Debbie should watch. You guys are funny. You guys have some pretty funny comments along the way. Thanks for that. And just remember, we do live in a cat kicking world that people are anxious to jump in and have a gotcha. And we are all trying to just hold it together and remember compassion and courtesy and appreciation that someone even walks into your store is what's required right now. Quite simply, the early adopters who are willing to go out need to see the optics that say it's safe here. And unless they see that, you're going to be judged and you're going to hear about it. Except you probably won't hear about it, because people will stop coming, and ultimately you get a reputation which isn't one of, I care about the community, but I care for me. And that fits into the narrative that is just bad about retail right now, that we shouldn't be open unless there's a vaccine. I think we have to be open. We're going to have to manage through this. It sucks. I don't know how New York City opens, but they're going to find a way. I have to believe that. And we're going to go through our day, and we're going to get out the other side, and we're all going to say, oh, it's because it's a we, not a me moment. So do me a favor. Don't look at how to separate yourself from customers. Just look and say, well, geez, I really have to fundamentally look at the way we have a branded experience. SalesRx will certainly teach you that, because it's ultimately how do we engage a stranger, discover the shopper, and make a customer. But you have to learn how to pivot conversations. You're going to have to learn how to work with greeting in a different way. You're going to have to find all those things that I put into this free course for Reopening Retail. So I hope that helps. I hope that we go through and we make it through, because ultimately we are about as happy as we make our minds up to be. Oh, somebody said, I stumbled onto the enemy's page. I'm out of here. Go work for CNN. I don't even know what that means, but I am out for retail. Anyone knows that brick and mortar is exactly who I am talking about. We are trying to find a way to reopen in a safe enough way that as we move through this, we can minimize risk, because we'll never get rid of all of it. In any event, I hope you have a great Mother's Day. Look for my other Mother's Day post. It will come out in about an hour and a half. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week, provided I get at least 5 questions on Saturday night. Thanks again.